am Sonia Shrivastava with the City of Bowie, bringing you another segment here. We're all working from home, and that means that our living rooms have suddenly turned into office spaces. Our dining rooms are now filled with files and other things. So how are you coping with maybe the back pain? Maybe your hand is hurting a little bit more. Maybe you're finding that your neck is a little bit more tense. Well, you're not the only one. Americans are seeing these growing pains. And here to talk a little bit more is Jesse Cooper. He is the founder and president of Smart Fitness. He's been a trainer here in the Bowie area for more than 20 years. And Jesse, you were telling me that some of your clients are complaining about some of these symptoms.
Yes, they are. A lot with people sitting at their desks a lot more. I'm having seeing issues with neck problems, tension in the shoulders, shoulder issues, things like that. So,
well, I'll give you an example. Just talking about myself, I am homeschooling 2 kindergartners, so I sit on the dining table. I've got one kid on one side, one on the other, and I find myself I'm not working on an office computer. I have a smaller computer that I'm using at home, and I'm constantly finding myself hunched over a little bit more rather than sitting straight at a desk. What are your recommendations on something like that?
So I have some stretches and things that I've recommended to some of my clients, and just recommend that they do it. You're sitting at the desk for hours, hunched over the computer, head leaned over. It's just stretches that I tell them to do at least, every hour, an hour or so, something like that they can do. And then I give them some other exercises if you want to step back from the desk for a couple minutes at a time that can help you just burn extra calories during the day. So, just stretches, things like reaching for the stars, which would just be locking your fingers up, palms up, and reaching overhead to stretch out your shoulders, keeping your head up and back, kind of reach back as you do it. That's a good way of kind of stretching out your shoulders, taking the tension out of your neck. You've been leaning forward a whole lot. And just while you're there, if you can just turn, look over your right shoulder, keep that stretch going. Look over your right shoulder for a few seconds. Look over your left shoulder for a few seconds. Just turning and keeping that stretch going. You do about 3 seconds each side. And then another one that I have is just right here, chest opener. So hands right behind the neck. And what I have them do is bring your elbows together, take your chin down to your chest, elbows together, and then just sit upright. Pull your shoulder blades back and just open your chest up. 1. And you can do any, 5 to 10 reps of those will really help stretch out your shoulders. And the focus will be the back of your shoulders and your rear delts, just pulling them back. So you're really pulling back from the shoulder joint, right?
Yeah.
And just opening your chest up. And that'll help alleviate some of the tension in your traps, things like that might, in your neck from you just sitting in front of the computer, hunched over long periods.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I think that even on a normal, office setting, people find that if they're sitting for long periods of time, that the lower back also tends to hurt a little bit more. Some people have developed tendinitis. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so some of the stuff that I'll do is just to stay active. So for those stretches, what I'll emphasize in order to do them, sit up towards the edge of your seat as you're doing it, so that when you do that overhead reach, you can kind of reach back and stretch out your spine as well. Some of the other things would be just get up off your seat, and you can do, some different exercises, maybe, jog in place. I tell my clients, I'm like, hey, you've been sitting down for hours. Every hour and an hour, I want you to just get up and just jog in place or run in place for about 30 to 45 seconds, about 15, 30-second break in between. Do that 4 or 5 times, right? Just something just to keep you active so that you're just not hunched over, straining your back and everything else. You could also do, for a lower back, you could do standing knee hugs. So standing, you can balance yourself on a chair if you have to, but just pulling your knee into your chest, down leg straight, and that'll help with, with things like that. What I've encouraged my clients to do, you can use bottles of water, right? So you can use bottles of water as you're squatting, hold them right in front of you. And when you come up, do an overhead press, right? So squat, overhead press. That way you're working the shoulders and stuff. Cause like I said, that's one of the big complaints I get from people. So you're working legs, shoulders, you're burning some extra calories. You do a few sets of those. You can even use, those bottles of water, depending on fitness level again, but you could use them for bicep curls.
Some of our folks might want to 40-pound
you want to do some shadow boxing, shadow boxing with the bottles of water in front of you. Just stuff to kind of keep the blood flowing, keep your body active and everything else so that you don't just become totally sedentary.
One of the things that you and I were talking about earlier is that just because you're home doesn't mean that you can't sit in like an office chair, right? You should really have a place where your working space, correct?
Yes, correct. So you want to make sure that you have a chair that gives you enough support, right? Because you are going to be sitting in there, and another thing I hear from a lot of my clients a lot of times is as they're working from home, they feel like they're putting in even more hours than they would when they were in the office, right? Because you're in the office, you get your lunch break, but a lot of times when you're home, you don't even stop to take that lunch break. You're just sitting for extended periods of time. And if you're sitting in a chair that doesn't give you support, if you're sitting on the couch or you're sitting on the sofa for that extended period of time, that can lead to different kinds of, back pain, tension in the shoulders, things like that. So definitely make sure, set yourself up properly. So in order to work from home and get a chair that gives you enough support so that it doesn't lead to back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, things like that.
All right. Well, Jesse, thank you so much for joining us. Jesse Cooper from Smart Fitness here in Bowie. Great tips there, Jesse. And we'll put your email address in case somebody has a question, they can get in touch with you.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us.